Hi, everyone, and welcome to our presentation. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about experimentation at Hipcamp and how Hipcamp optimized the campground experience using experimentation, specifically with Iterable and Amplitude. So a little bit about myself. I'm a business operations manager here at Hipcamp. I'm focused on growing the Hipcamp host community by testing and experimenting with different acquisition strategies to try to bring more hosts onto the platform. And I do a lot of the building of workflows to support the back end of our operations and outreach teams. So the people who work with our community on the day-to-day. And to go through a little bit of an agenda of our presentation today, first I want to introduce Hipcamp, share a little bit more about it, and then talk about why experimentation. Why did we choose to really invest in experimentation at our company? A little bit about the tools that we specifically use for some of our experimentation workflows, and then delve into two specific use cases between our hosts and our Hipcampers. So a little bit more about Hipcamp. Our mission is to get more people outside, and we're a two-sided marketplace where our hosts share their land with Hipcampers who are looking for unique and fun places to stay. So a little bit about our hosts. Our users, our Hipcampers and our hosts really make up the heart of our community. And the hosts are kind of the side of the people who put up the land to book on the platform. So they're landowners who range either from small hobby farmers to more professional campground owners, really a wide range of different people, sizes of land, interests. That could be people who run larger operations or who just are homesteading on a small piece of land. They may host campers full-time, or they may use hosting to help diversify their land's revenue if they're already running like agriculture or other things on their land. And they also have full control over their listings and offerings. So they go to Hipcamp to put up their land available to book, and our Hipcampers on the other side are the ones who are searching for unique and outdoor getaways on our platform. So they browse sites on Hipcamp for tent camping, RVing, camping, cabins, glamping. They book overnight reservations with hosts directly through Hipcamp. So past campers then leave reviews and photos on the listings, which help give a sense of what the experience is like for future campers who are browsing the host's offerings. A little bit into experimentation. Our operations team has really been built around testing and learning faster. We're a really small team, and we really emphasize kind of like nimble, moving quickly, learning from it, and then moving on to the next project. And with such a small team handling a bunch of different focus areas like marketing, supply acquisition, business analytics, and process improvement, we knew that we really needed to invest in the tools to reduce the manual workflows. So for a long time, we're doing a lot of these experiments manually. We would track things through spreadsheets and then have to set reminders of like the dates that we would have to come back and check on the results, manually pull the data to figure out what happened with our users and what's going on in our funnels, and then spend a lot of time analyzing that. And it's hard to keep track of who owned what and how different experiments were overlapping. So that's why we really turned towards experimentation, because it allowed us to break down a lot of the larger goals we have into smaller little bits of progress. So if we can start getting better at running really short, snappy experiments, we can start like just making like a little bit of progress every day towards our bigger goals. So some of the key tools that we use in our experimentation stack are Iterable and Amplitude. And within Iterable, we really hone in on the A/B split feature and user filters. And within Amplitude, we really focus on funnel conversion and performance evaluation. And those two really work in lockstep with each other. And I think that's something that we've really benefited from, is being able to move in between the two and cycle between them to move faster. So I'll go a little bit more into detail with the use case that we have for hosts, specifically improving the conversion rates for new hosts on Hipcamp. So a little bit of background. The goal with this workflow was to engage with and support landowners as they begin their hosting journey on Hipcamp. So new hosts would come to Hipcamp and be interested in hosting, so they would start a listing. And we really wanted to nurture and support them as they did that. And so our approach was to build an iterable workflow that featured a bunch of emails and texts, other communication at certain cadence to reach out to them and remind them that, we're here for you. Our support team and our outreach team are really hands-on, and they'd love to help hosts wherever they have an issue, but being able to fill in those gaps in between to make hosts feel like they're supported and that, we're here and we're ready to help them if they need it. So within this workflow, we started experimenting with different ways to encourage hosts to finish their listings sooner, as well as help them be more successful down the road. And the reason why it matters is because the sooner they can go live, the sooner they can start getting bookings on Hipcamp. So within Iterable, we really utilize the A/B split feature in this specific workflow. So as hosts were coming into the workflow, we can test a lot of different things. And with Iterable, it's so easy to just implement using this purple filter node, which splits the users into a different direction depending on a random assignment. So we can implement small tweaks such as the button size, changing the button size or the color on an email, to more robust changes like affecting how often an email went out or the delay before an email or a text, as well as the email copy, personalizing the messaging based on where the host was located, what their interests are, what their profile was. And Iterable really gave us insight to users at every step of this funnel. It was super easy to export user lists and QA what was happening at the granular level. So we'd be able to see, this host went down the left fork, but this host went down the right fork, and see exactly which emails they were getting, what they looked like, and just sort of check what was going on. And then we can just go back and make those changes really quickly with a really intuitive user interface that anyone on the team was able to learn pretty quickly. Then we moved over into Amplitude. So all of our iterable events are streamed into Amplitude, and anyone on the team can build charts to automatically track conversion from one event to another. So you can select the type of event that you want, like an email was delivered, or an SMS was delivered, or an email was clicked on. And all of these events in Iterable were able to be called on in Amplitude. And we can segment automatically in Amplitude and be able to understand, what users did once they received an email, once they clicked on them, what they went on to do in our app. And with the funnel conversion feature in Amplitude, we can select these cohorts of hosts who are receiving different treatments and compare their progress and speed as they went through the onboarding funnel. It was also very easy to sort of swap in different events here and there. So, we just would have a one-off question of, what happened to the hosts after this? Did they go take this other action, or did they, do something completely different? And it was very easy to just sort of swap those events in and out and really play around with the data in Amplitude. And Amplitude also has really powerful built-in analytics tools that helped our operations teams, especially without needing a lot of input from data scientists or engineering. We're able to right away determine, when an A/B test was hitting statistical significance, and we sort of had a conclusion that we can take back to Iterable. So kind of closing that loop, once in Amplitude, we were able to decide that a test that we were running had statistically significant results, and that one of the variations is better than the other. We can go back into Iterable and easily remove that purple filter node and just reroute all of the rest of the users that are coming through to the winning fork. Or we can kind of scale up and down the ratio of users coming down the pipeline and sort of tweak, play around with it. It's just sort of the possibilities are really endless there. And being able to switch back and forth between Iterable and Amplitude and have that really tight feedback loop of, you see the data and instantly, you might have another question of what you want to do with it next. You can just go right back into Iterable and throw in another email or, change the color of the button again, and then see the results again. And some experiments we were able to close out in just a matter of days with this type of infrastructure. And now we'll turn this over to Lukas to talk a little bit more about how we use experimentation on the Hipcamper side.
Great, thanks, Christina. So hi, everyone. I am Lukas. I am an analyst on the operations team at Hipcamp. And most of my projects are focused on generally improving the overall experience for hosts and also campers. At Hipcamp, we use Iterable and Amplitude to create the camper review workflow. and ultimately create an engaging workflow that gets the most reviews. So simply put, our goal is to increase camper engagement through our review workflow. Although that sounds fairly simple, there's a lot of different nuances to it. So our approach is by staggering communication and using personalized language, we can create an efficient review workflow that engages our campers. And so why do camper reviews really matter? Camper reviews are a great way for hosts to get valuable feedback on things they are doing well and things they can improve on. And additionally, they can help prospective campers decide which listing is best for them. So like I said, we use Iterable to create a review workflow. One tool we really use is the filter tool. So we filter campers based on specific fields, such as listing location and date of stay. So whether a camper is staying at a California campsite or a Massachusetts cabin, they'll get specialized and personalized language that's catered best for them. By using these personalized filters, they can feel like the review is personalized and catered just to them. So once we get results from Iterable, we can go into Amplitude to evaluate performance. In Amplitude, we are constantly tracking the performance of each message type and cadence. We'll utilize the cohort and funnel analysis tools to help us evaluate metrics such as review completion rate and sentiment score. So based on how campers are engaging, we will make decisions about which experiments get scaled. For example, if we see one subject line working better than the other, we are able to hone in on that one subject line and build workflows with higher open rate and click-through rates. On the inverse, if we see one subject line is not working well, then maybe we'll shift away from that and focus on one that is doing well. We can use Iterable and Amplitude to make those decisions and ultimately scale it up. So since implementing Iterable and Amplitude, we've been able to run 4.5 times the amount of successful ops-driven experiments. As Christina spoke to before, previously many of our experiments took a long time or had to include other teams to actually implement an experiment. But with Iterable and Amplitude, we were able to run small, efficient experiments that help us get us closer to our bigger goals. Iterable and Amplitude has really helped Hipcamp with two main things. Number one, experimentation. So Iterable and Amplitude empower our team to rapidly design, deploy, and scale up experimentations across different channels. Experimentation has become such a central part of our BizOps team culture and is now part of our team goals. Employees in non-technical roles can jump straight in and experiment right away. Along with experimentation, Amplitude and Iterable has really helped with efficiency. So we're able to scope and launch experiments faster than ever before without product or engineering dependencies. Iterable and Amplitude provide real-time feedback on the performance of our experiments, and we don't have to wait to learn any faster. All right, so thank you so much. We'll be in the speaker Q&A session for any further questions.